you are curious about blinging and you've been wanting to try it but you weren't really sure and the idea of a full bling cup was just a little overwhelming, that's totally okay, totally understandable. This is going to be a great option for you because it is a lot smaller of a scale, it takes far less time, and it's a little bit easier to manage. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Desiree, mom of 3 and the owner and maker behind The Handmade Mom. This week we are going to be continuing on with the fall market prep series, I guess, that we're doing. And we're going to be doing a step-by-step tutorial on one of my new products coming out. And that product is going to be these bling pens. I'm super duper excited about that. You guys have seen this one already. I've shown you guys this one, but this one is the one we're doing a tutorial on. I absolutely love this color. I love this pattern. It's so cute. I can't handle it. I'm really excited about these for the market season. I think they're going to be amazing gifts. And I do have some other plans for some other patterns, but I thought I would show you guys how I create these ones. Let's go ahead and get into the video and start making these pens. I forgot to mention, everything will be linked down in the description as well. So any of the supplies that I use, you can find it down there if you're wanting to try this project for yourself. So let's go ahead and get started. So first thing you're going to want to do is the little clip part that you usually put like on your notebook or on your shirt, you're going to want to clip that off. So you're going to kind of slide this snips over the top of that, pinch and twist and pull. And then it should come off. Fairly simple. Just be careful because sometimes pieces do go a little bit flying. So just word of caution. But from there, I like to store them in this tackle box. My husband had this. It was an extra one that he wasn't using, so I snagged it. And this is how I store all of my pieces. I take it all apart so that way it's all prepped and ready to go. I simply unscrew the little bottom piece here. That goes in its own container. Then I remove the ink and I leave the spring on the ink portion, put that in its own spot. And then I take out this little clicky part, and it's actually 2 pieces that will come out. So I separate those and put them each in their own compartment. Then here I actually have my replacement ones. So I do offer my bling pens that come with 1 additional replacement ink. So those are here in the tackle box as well. Next, you're going to want to sand your pen. This is super important so that way we have a nice surface that is got some texture for your glue to adhere to, but there's a few parts that I want you to focus on. This little piece here on the back of the pen, slightly raised. Right here where the little clip was, there's this tiny little like bump or bubble. That, and then of course where we snipped off the clip originally. So those 3 spots you're going to want to focus on most of your sanding. I like to start off with this top part here where we snipped because that's generally the most rough and sometimes takes me the longest to get it smooth. So you're just going to sand it until you can feel it with your finger and you can tell when it's pretty smooth or if it's still raised. So here I'm just checking and then going back in with a little bit more sanding on top of that. Next, I'm going to do this little bitty bubble here. So I'm showing you that it is still there. Obviously, I haven't sanded it. And then it's pretty quick, honestly, to do this one. So you don't want to spend too much time sanding this spot. It takes very minimal effort. And then we're going to go to the back side where those 2 little hearts are. And we're going to sand that down as well. This is another one that takes a little bit of time, sometimes just because it is slightly more raised. But it is still pretty simple to sand down. Once you have those parts sanded down really nice and smooth, then you're going to go through and sand very lightly on the rest of the pen. I will do one half and then I will flip it over and I will do the other half and make sure I get it nice and coated so you have something that looks a little bit like this. Now we're going to be using this alcohol that I have in this nail polish remover dispenser, and I'm just going to put some on a paper towel and then we're going to wipe off our pen. We want to make sure that it's really clean and we get all of the residue off from sanding. Next, you're going to want to use your Posca paint markers and paint your pen. I personally like to just paint all of mine with a white base. You can go in with, like, if you're doing mostly pink pen, then you can put pink on there instead of white, but personally I just like to do white. It's simple, it's easy, and it looks really nice still with any color combination of rhinestones. We're going to use this template, so I like to start at the bottom of the pen and work my way up. So I'm going to start here with these first 2 rows of solid. On here on the template is blue, but we're going to be replacing the blue with pink. So we're going to do 2 solid rows of pink. So something to note on this first row, you want to take your time with this first one because it's going to set the foundation for the rest of the pen. If your first row is a little wonky or is off in any way, it will be noticeable later down the line once you start adding more rhinestones. So I'm just putting in each rhinestone one by one right next to the other, butted up as close as I can to it, and I use light taps with the wax pen just to kind of get it where I want it to be. Now you do have some time to adjust it, and we are going to do something at the end of doing this first row that will help kind of get it really nicely lined up. So once you've completed the first row, I like to go in and just, again, lightly tap with the wax pen to adjust any rhinestones that I need to adjust. I'm going to take my time with this so that way I get that really nice crisp line of rhinestones, and then once I'm like, okay, I'm good with this, I will put it flat on the table like this and just kind of lightly tap on the rhinestones downwards towards the table, and that's just going to help ensure that all my rhinestones are lined up nice and straight. So normally once I do this first row, I like to let it sit and dry so that way that first row of rhinestones is not going to move when I start adding the next ones. But for recording purposes, I did continue on and put in the second row. However, I would recommend for you guys to let that first row dry completely before moving on. Once that row is dry, then you can start putting your next row of rhinestones on following the honeycomb method, which looks something like this. And basically you're putting the first row of rhinestones, and then the second row is going to be inside the crevice of the previous row. And you're just going to follow that pattern all the way through the pen. Now we're going to start doing the flowers and creating those. Focusing only on this one line, you'll notice that there is 4 blue rhinestones in between each of the flowers. Actually, on this particular pen, the color of rhinestones that I have, the pink ones, they are slightly smaller. So I was able to put 13 rhinestones instead of 12, which is what the template uses. So I did have to make some adjustments, but I followed just the general idea and spacing of the template. So I'm going to start off with the 2 white. I'm just going to pick a spot and start off with the 2 white petals and place those. Again, I'm putting them in the crevice of the previous row that I had just did. And then we're going to go in, and I decided to go with 4 of the pink rhinestones first. And that way that spacing was the same as the template. So you can see here, I'm showing you up close. Here's the 2 white petals, and then I have 4 of the pink ones. And then next to that, we're going to go in with the other 2 white petals. And then the rest of this side, we're just going to fill in with the pink. Now this is where it is a little bit different than the template, because again, my pink rhinestones were a slightly different size than the blue ones, which is what I used to base this template off of. So there is going to be 5 pink rhinestones on this other side. And it should look a little bit like this. Now we're going to move into the next row, which is going to be 2 more white petals along with the center of the flower. In between each of the flowers is going to be 3 of the pink rhinestones. Again, one side is going to be a little bit different, so it's going to be 3 on one side and 4 on the other. So what I like to do when I'm starting this portion of the flower is I will go in with the topaz color and start with that, put that in the center of my petals, and then I put in the white on either side of that. I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing on the other flower. So we're going to put in the topaz center for that one, and then again the white petals on either side. Next, we're just going to go in and fill in with the pink on whatever is left to fill in. Once it's done, it'll look something like this. Then we're going to go in and start doing the last row that has the petals for this flower. Again, we're going to start off with where the flowers are at. So we're going to put the 2 white petals that are going to finish out this flower. Then we're adding the pink to fill in to get to the other flower. And then we'll put in the last 2 petals, and then of course finish it out with the rest of the pink. You can also do the 2 petals on each of the flowers first and then fill it in like we did on the last row. It's really whatever your preference is. So now we have the first row of flowers complete, so we're going to move on to the next one. But in between each of the flowers, I have 2 solid rows of the pink, so that's what we're going to do next, still following that honeycomb style. Once those are done, then you're going to move into the next row of flowers, and the spacing between each of these flowers is the same as the first row. The only difference is where they're placed, so that way the flowers are actually staggered. So I find the center, I'm counting the rhinestones to find the center, and then I'm going to place my white petals right where I need them to be for centering that out. Once I had the first set of petals on, I added 4 pink rhinestones, and then that got me to where I needed to have my next set of petals. So I put on the next 2 petals there and then filled in the rest with pink. Once you have that part done, you can kind of just keep going as you did with the previous set of flowers. You're going to put in the topaz center, then the 2 white petals, and fill in the rest with pink. Move on to the next row and put in the next set of petals, finish it out with the pink. And then you're going to just kind of follow the rest of that pattern throughout the duration of the pen, and making sure that you are lining up the flowers with the row that it's supposed to be lined up with to keep the staggered look. As you're going throughout this design, you are able to make some slight adjustments. Again, using that light tapping motion with your wax pen, you're going to want to adjust your rhinestones so that way you try to keep each row as generally straight as possible. It's okay if it's not 100% perfect, because honestly, rhinestones are fairly forgiving, but you do want to make sure that it is as straight as you can get it all the way around the pen. Now we are not 100% done, but this is where we are looking. And what I like to do at this point, because it does get hard for me to hold it at the end and keep putting rhinestones on, is I will let it dry overnight and then come back and finish out by flipping over the pen this way and holding it basically right side up. And then here we're just going to continue on with the same pattern all the way up to the top. Once you reach the top, you may notice that it doesn't exactly match the template. Sometimes the rhinestones, like I mentioned before, come in slightly smaller sizes. There's a little bit of a range when it comes to the millimeters of the rhinestones, but totally okay. You just make the adjustments, and usually it's pretty minor. So once that is done, I recommend you let your pen dry 100%. So I let mine dry overnight before I reassemble all the pieces back in to complete the pen. Once you have all your pieces assembled, there you have it. You have now created a bling pen. Alright, so that is it for this tutorial. I hope that you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys were able to create your own bling pen. I am really excited about these being put out at my markets this upcoming fall season. I'm hoping that they do really well. I think they're going to make great gifts. So let me know if you guys were able to create your own. I would love to see pictures of yours, so send me a DM over on Instagram at thehandmaidemomtx, and let's chat about how your project went, because I'm really excited for you guys and I want to see how they turned out. Thank you again so much for watching. I appreciate you going through this tutorial with me. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. I'd greatly appreciate it. It helps out me and my channel so much. Also, if you are wanting to see the rest of this fall market prep series, along with the market vlogs, once those start happening here pretty soon, then be sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications. That way you don't miss any of those things. All right, so I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.